takes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Here on the back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Bust free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Welcome into the show, everybody. I'm your host, Russ Heltman from the Cincinnati Bearcats on SI coverage site, and I'll be welcoming my co-host Neil Meyer into the show in just a moment. A huge show for everybody as we have a coaching change on the way for the Cincinnati Bearcats men's basketball program. The 5-season tenure of Wes Miller will not get a sixth as the Cincinnati Bearcats just limped into the finish line, pushed one of their worst games, worst offensive performances of the season against UCF, and that collapse of a loss in the second round of the Big 12 tournament. And that seemingly was enough for Cincinnati to pull the trigger and take on some sort of buyout. We'll get to that in the beginning of the show, kind of break down what happened with Wes Miller, his entire tenure in general, and then quick break before we get into the best names to lead Cincinnati forward into the rest of the 2020s and hopefully into the 2030s as well, as Cincinnati looks for a long-term answer and a staple coach in the mold of guys like Bob Huggins and Mick Cronin, who brought this program to its highest heights over the last 30 years, and they're trying to get back to some of those points in the next 10 to 15. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where the brackets are live and the national championship can be bet on over at FanDuel. Some clear favorites here to lift the title. 3 clear favorites. We're looking at Duke plus 370, Arizona at plus 330, and Michigan at plus 370, followed by Florida at 8-1, and nobody else with odds, it looks like, lower than right around kind of 10-1. I'm not seeing anybody lower than 10-1. Yeah, it's, you kind of have to go all the way to 18 or 14-1 to get the next closest odds. Those are the big favorites to lift the crown, lift the trophy, and you get a bonus bet during this portion leading into the big tournament in a couple of days. FanDuel Sportsbook has everybody getting bonus bets on them when you log in or sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook. The place to bet on the national champion, the team to win the national championship in just about 3 weeks' time. Duke, Arizona, and Michigan, your big favorites. Coaching change coming up on Bearcat Blitz. Neil, the Wes Miller era is over in Clifton. John Rothstein of CBS Sports first reported the news on Friday afternoon, and we have not had a formal announcement that Wes Miller has been fired by the actual Cincinnati Athletics department just yet, but the writing's on the wall, the report's been made, there's been nothing refuting it, Neil. The end for Wes Miller at Cincinnati.
Yeah, and it's just like you mentioned, Russ, too, that it has not been confirmed by the University of Cincinnati that Wes Miller is out at Cincinnati, but sources do indicate to us over at the Front Office News that it indeed was the move on Friday afternoon. So doesn't look like we'll see Wes Miller back here for a 6th season in Cincinnati. I mean, it was just a gut-wrenching way to go out, especially how things ended last week in Kansas City for the Big 12 championship quarterfinals or second game of that. So ideally, not the way Wes envisioned his career and his tenure coming to an end at Cincinnati. But overall, Cincinnati is now searching for their 3rd head coach here since 2020 between John Brandon and now Wes Miller. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out in the next few days or what this buyout might look like, because despite those sources telling us that Wes Miller is indeed out at Cincinnati, we have not heard anything on the buyout information, whether it was negotiated, a deal, or whatnot. But
we do have there actually has been reporting on that, Neil. We do have reporting on that. CBS Sports' Matt Norlander notes that the plan. So this is the plan. This hasn't been, I guess, written in lawyer confirmed text, but the plan from Matt Norlander here is that Cincinnati will not pay the full pre-April 1 buyout. He said the plan is for Cincinnati to take on $4.7 million of that total $10 million projected buyout for the Bearcats. Full tweet here, quote, Cincinnati is getting rid of Wes Miller. Sources tell CBS Sports. Plan is for the formal separation to go official on April 1st when Miller's buyout substantially drops from $9.9 million to $4.7 million. Seems like that's the move, Neil, though we have not kind of will they wait till April 1st to officially say Wes Miller is not the coach? I would be stunned if that's what they actually do. There's no way they're going to do that.
Yeah, and that's where we're thinking about because
you got to hire a coach before then. The plan that they're hitting the pavement trying to find a coach as we speak right now.
Yeah, and what our sources indicated to us over at the front office news was that this went down on Friday, and obviously he met with the team on Friday to let them know, hey, he was not returning as head coach of Cincinnati. So it's going to be interesting to see where they might go. But Russ, I don't think we wait until April 1st to have this announcement. I know I've been asking around some people at the university, and it's been pretty tight-lipped on when this announcement will come. But right now, everything's indicating, and as reported, that Wes Miller is out at Cincinnati. So now it's just all eyes forward on who might be the next head coach of the University of Cincinnati. Obviously, there are some names out there rumbling, but as many of these coaching hires and all of us media members know, you never know what could happen in these situations. So it's going to be interesting moving forward.
Wes Miller, I mean, off the court, a really, really gracious guy, really good with us, good with the media, never shied away from a question, always ready to answer things, respectful to us. I mean, I always kind of think of the way he treated our colleague Chad Brendel when Chad's wife was going through the cancer fight that she ultimately lost her battle with, and just the way that he acknowledged that moment, the way he acknowledged everything going on there. I mean, Wes Miller is, and I think Neil would echo me in saying this, is great people. He's a good guy, seems like a genuinely good person. He cared about this university. He cared about this job. He cared about these players. I mean, look at how he never turned away Jizzle James when he went through all of the issues that he went through last offseason and even into this season. He stayed by him, stuck by him, and that just goes to show what kind of man that Wes Miller can be at his core. All in all, though, Neil, it just didn't work out. Just ultimately did not work out, did not have the late game execution, did not have the late game kind of coaching execution that was required to end up getting Cincinnati to the first and ultimate goal every season, and one that Mick Cronin and Bob Huggins consistently got to, and that's into the NCAA tournament. That never happened under Wes Miller, and it's unfortunate that he won't get a chance to coach Cincinnati to that highest level anymore. But it's just, at a program like this, with the history that this program has, with the investment that this program has made into these teams recently under Wes Miller, the results cannot be what they have been and do nothing about it. Cincinnati ends his time 174-100 during Wes Miller's tenure, and I believe he went an unfortunate 12-48 in quad one games. You get that number to 20 and 40, then Wes Miller's likely still the head coach. He's likely coaching his team in the NCAA tournament next week. It's just those fine lines, Neil, that are the reason why Wes Miller, despite recruiting very well, despite accumulating a top 20 roster, I would say each of the past two seasons, finds himself on the outside looking in, and on the outside of the Cincinnati coaching job, ready to find his next home in college basketball. And ironically, Neil, UNCG is open once again. So Wes Miller may be a candidate there for the UNC Greensboro job, although I think he's coached well enough to probably rise above that job, at least for his next landing spot.
Yeah, first of all, Russ, like you mentioned, obviously Wes is a really good, genuine dude. You mentioned the situation with Chad. That was really kind of cool to see Wes go above and beyond to check in on Chad and his family during that time. But most importantly, that's just who Wes is. And I know I've had a lot of great run-ins with him. I mean, my college graduation, one of the first texts I got was from Wes Miller. So every birthday, every Christmas, it was always, you had something in there from Wes. Hey, happy birthday, happy holidays. Tell your family we said, hey, hope you're doing well. Like that's the guy Wes Miller is. And that's the side of people that's the side people really didn't get to see. They saw everything on the basketball court, but once you got to know him on a personal level, like you and I have, and some of the other guys around the program, genuine good guy. And you don't find many of those people in society like that. So obviously you want to wish the best on Wes, wish the best for Wes. But
Yeah.
overall, like you mentioned, it just sucks how it ended. Obviously, the X's and O's just didn't plan out. But Russ, like you mentioned, I mean, he's still got plenty of different avenues. More than likely, obviously, you mentioned UNCG open up. I still think Wes Miller is a Power Four head coach. I'm going to stand by that. I think he has definitely earned that right. But
Yeah, he might
when
just not be
things,
a Big 12 head coach, and that's okay
Mhm.
right now. Maybe if down the line he will be. He's maybe a little bit in over his head, a little bit in the Big 12 compared to maybe an ACC or a Big East or something like that where he could land.
Yeah, and for everybody who knows, like you saw the video in the tunnel following West Virginia, like
Yeah, great
Wes
example.
Wes wanted it just as bad as some of these players, just as bad as these fans. Because Russ, you and I have sat in on many practices where Wes gave it his all, tried to get these guys fired up. He tried to lead these guys in the right way. It just ultimately results didn't produce on the court. That's all. That's all it was here, and you hate to see that happen because anytime you talk about somebody losing their job, it's not going to be a good situation.
Right.
But on top of
And it's
it,
not
just
just
a
him. I mean, there's wide-ranging effects across the entire
mhm.
program, from
And
assistant
now,
coaches down to players, down to strength staffs,
mhm.
down to graduate assistants, all that stuff.
Yeah, and so right now where Cincinnati is sitting, obviously with the news of Wes Miller being released and let go, Caden Allen reopens his commitment. So Cincinnati now has nobody signed in the 2026 class.
Yep.
So that's kind of scary to think about. But not only right now is you don't know what all might be going on inside that Lindner Athletic Center right now because you got to think of the assistant coaches, you got to think of the players, the graduate assistants, the student managers, even. It all is a trickle down effect because at the end of the day, yes, they are student athletes, and yes, these are guys coming to play a sport, but they got to figure out everything now. Like most of them committed to Cincinnati because of Wes.
Right.
So now they have to realize, hey, what is my next step going to be? Am I going to jump in the portal or am I going to ride this thing out and see who they hire or whatnot? Because it's really going to be interesting over the next few weeks here, Russ. Because as many of you guys know, March Madness starts this week. Once this thing gets opened up, that portal is going to go into full effect.
Yeah, April 5th, I believe it opens up after a couple days after the national championship game. So a little bit more time than usual. And usually, Neil, I think in years past this decade, it's been open like right now. Like this
Mm-hmm.
Monday, I believe, is when it has opened. And they've thankfully, judiciously, and smartly moved that to actually after the end of the season. It's a novel concept to do that. Actually, after the season ends, you let the entire sport into the transfer portal. I get that it's more difficult to do that with football because of the way that the semesters break down. You got to get guys in class in their next schools within a 2 to 3 week kind of winter break window. But it would be nice if we could make that uniform across the major sports there. You look at this kind of roster in general, Neil, as we tie up the end of the Wes Miller era in Cincinnati. The on one other note, Neil, no crown, no postseason tournament for the Bearcats in the 2026 in the next few weeks. I'm not sure exactly if they have to pay the exit fee to the crown because of Wes Miller's exit, if they're not liable to have to pay that. But it is, I think
Since
it's
a
like
coach got fired, I don't believe they have to.
yeah, you would think they wouldn't have to, but if you just straight up deny playing in the crown, it's a pretty penny. It's a little bit, it's somewhere roughly like $750,000, something like that, a little bit less than $1 million in total fine that you have to pay. So I would highly doubt they have to pay that given the exit of Wes Miller. But you look at the scholarships, Neil, and what they have left on the board. Bearcat Bunch does an awesome job with this Bearcat scholarship sheet for both basketball and football. So shout out to Eric Lilly for the work on this. But the guys exiting the program: Kirk Riesa, done. He will no longer play for Cincinnati. Jalen Celestine, the same. Baba Miller, the same. Jalen Haynes will apply for a medical red shirt. Interested to see whether or not he would want to try to find a new home a year removed from playing in the transfer portal. You'd think Jalen Haynes would want to just continue his rehab here and try to close out strong in the Big 12 at a place that he was already going to be committing to even despite the exit of Wes Miller. We'll see if the incoming coach wants to keep Jalen Haynes around, all that good stuff. But Jizzle James, 1 year of eligibility left. Sincere Harris, 1 year of eligibility left. And then you look at Mustafa Cham, a couple years of eligibility left, along with Halvin Zealot. And then you have the freshmen and Keyshawn Tillery, Sean Abayev, Jordy Rodriguez, and Tyler McKinley. Cham, Neil, interesting decision for him to make. He will be right on the line of NBA draftable talents. I imagine we'll see Baba Miller get his name selected, be the first Bearcat selected in the NBA draft this entire decade. So that's some offseason news and notes to follow there for this program. But all in all, Neil, as we tie up the end of the Wes Miller era, you could see an entirely new roster very well at next season. Even Jalen Haynes exit. We could very well see every single player, maybe outside of Bryson Buckingham, who's a walk-on, exit this program when the new coach comes in, and we'll discuss candidates for that new coach coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the round-by-round kind of reaching for each team in the NCAA tournament. You can bet on a team to reach the round of 32, the round of 16, the round of the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and the national championship game. Let's look at some of these massive favorites to reach the Sweet 16. You got Arizona minus 1,000, Michigan minus 750, Duke minus 650. Those are your kind of biggest favorites to reach the round of 16 right now, the Sweet 16. You got Kansas, Darren Peterson. Do you think they'll win 2 games? Minus 115, right around even odds to make the Sweet 16. St. John's, Rick Pitino, our old friend Dylan Mitchell. Do you think they'll have enough offense to get to the Sweet 16? They are plus money to win 2 games over this week and get to the second weekend in the college basketball sphere. Reach X round betting available on FanDuel Sportsbook, and you can also use your bonus bet on maybe a long shot to get to the Final Four. You maybe think a team could get to the Final Four, but a long shot's not quite going to lift that trophy. Place your bonus bet on that to happen. You can have some fun with FanDuel Sportsbook. The coaching candidates coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, right here on the Believe Network. Closing out the show here with Neil Meyer of the frontofficenews.com. I'm Russ Heltman from Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. All things coaching search for the Bearcats basketball program for the rest of this month, as Neil, it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. They will get a coach in here. They will get one hired in the next 2 weeks, and they will have a guy ready to roll for this transfer portal starting on April 5th. You don't want to waste a season, especially when you're having to definitively pay a buyout of some kind, some way, multiple millions of dollars, maybe eclipsing $10+ million if you factor in all of the staffing buyouts you have to go through, all of that stuff. It's not going to be cheap to get rid of Wes Miller and start a new era. They have to find the right guy. It's super imperative to find the right guy, one that can get you hitting the ground running quickly and be able to put together a competent Big 12 level roster with maybe nobody else behind him to fill it in with. Now, Neil, before we get to the coaching candidates, one name we haven't talked about in here that I think could be a huge factor in retaining some of these other players, some of these players that a new coach would probably like to keep, considering, Neil, this was like we've talked about it all season. This was a top 20 roster. This was a multi-million dollar, not just multi-million dollar, multis of multi-million dollar roster, approaching the $10 million roster level for this Cincinnati Bearcats basketball outfit. They have resources. They have the ability to find talent. And one of those factors in finding talent is general manager Corey Evans, who is on a separate deal from Wes Miller. He was hired on a multi-year deal last year, and no word yet on his status. No reports yet have come about of him being relieved of his duties. That, Neil, seems to me like a guy you wouldn't want to fire. You wouldn't want to just eat his money just for no reason. If he's under contract, then he's required to continue doing his general manager duties, and you would hope maybe the incoming coach would be able to work with Corey Evans and be able to use the pre-existing relationship that he has with the rest of this roster to maybe retain some guys and be able to, we're talking about heads above water a little bit here, keep your head above water a little bit more in that opening week of the transfer portal, having to get maybe 6 to 7 new rotation players as opposed to 9 to 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing too, Russ, when you look down at Cincinnati's current situation is general manager Corey Evans is signed to, I believe, a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
So we're only into year one. So yes, obviously it's not ideal. He came here to be with Wes, but right now, if you're any head coach that's potentially looking to make the move from the previous school you're at right now to potentially coming to Cincinnati, you got to be pretty excited to know you have this opportunity sitting at hand if you allow
Right.
it to
It's one
retain
less
Corey
thing you
Evans.
have to worry about if you're the other coach, if you can spark a
And
good
plus,
relationship with Corey.
And plus, right now, with everything that Corey Evans has done throughout his career, I mean, his resume states everything for itself. I
All
mean,
right.
he spent some time in the Thunder organization, helped them win a ring, helped them develop this talent. He's been on the EYBL circuit for so long. This is a guy you got to do everything you can to contain, because not only does the resume speak for itself, but he has relationships with most of these guys here at Cincinnati. Two of those being Keyshawn Tillery and Mustafa Cham. Two, in my opinion, Russ, are two key pieces you have to find a way to do everything to retain here at Cincinnati. So if for me, it's an easy deal. I mean, you have whatever coach comes into Cincinnati, you still have to take that opportunity and you have to meet with Corey Evans and say, hey, what can we do to keep you here? Like that's the number one priority for me right now for Cincinnati.
And I mean, if the coach wants him, you'd think he's going to stay. I mean, usually, if with these kind of contracts, if you want to get out of your contractual agreement, you have to pay a buyout of your own. So we don't know the exact language of the Corey Evans deal for sure, if there is that personal on his end buyout, if he were to want to leave. But you'd think he'd stay here if the incoming coach wants to keep him. And one coach, Neil, I mean, there's one candidate that sticks out far more than any other. And to be honest, I don't know if we're really going to be talking about a mysterious UC coaching search much at all. Unfortunately for our click gauges on our websites over the next month or so. To me, it's Jared Calhoun, and it's not even really that difficult to make a pick here. Jared Calhoun, Utah State head coach, is the best fit for Cincinnati. He's a guy who wants this job, and he has the resume, the pelts on the wall. Every single box you'd want to check is checked with Jared Calhoun and pursuing him to be the UC head coach. Graduated from here in 2004, has been on multiple Bob Huggins staff, started out as a grad assistant on Bob Huggins staff in 2004, eventually went on to be, I think, his one of his chiefs of staffs in the 2010s while at West Virginia, has gone on to do some great things over the past couple seasons as a head coach at Utah State. 52-14 in 2 seasons at Utah State, Neil. As when I wrote this article last week, they were 32nd in KenPom overall, 28th in adjusted offensive efficiency, 20th in adjusted offensive efficiency last year. Did lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament last season, but back-to-back years making the tournament. They were regular season champions of the Mountain West this past season. A Mountain West, Neil, that people think, oh, Mountain West, that's just group of 5. We don't really got to care about. No. You do not brush away the Mountain West. Sixth best conference, in the country by overall net rankings this past season. So no slouch of a league. And I mean, Neil, this is as easy a fit as you could possibly find for the UC head coaching search. Any other guy stand out to you as much as Jared Calhoun?
No, I mean everybody. When you look down at everything going on, Jared Calhoun is the guy that sticks out the most for Cincinnati. Yes, there are some people and some rumblings behind people, obviously, of those who are saying, "Hey, what if we can't get Jared Calhoun? Then where do we pivot?" But Russ, I mean, you look down at the everything that is presented on Jared Calhoun's resume per se. Graduated from the University of Cincinnati, GA'd under Coach Huggins, now leading a Youngstown State team to the NCAA tournament before going to Utah State. So I mean, he has been in the NCAA tournament, I believe, since 2023, and he got to learn from arguably one of the best coaches in all of college basketball in Bob Huggins.
And
His
elevated
team,
his coaching in each level each time,
Mhm.
going from a mid-major school in Youngstown State, won there, went to the NCAA tournament, and just continues to win at Utah State. No hiccups, no speed bumps. They did not win the regular season championship in 24-25, still made the tournament, and then they win the regular season championship this past year and make the tournament once again there. And 9 seed, ironically, Neil, facing UCF next week.
Yeah, and that will be an interesting
Excuse me.
matchup.
No, I'm not. They're a 9 seed facing Villanova, I believe. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the UC connection with UCF is Mick Cronin's UCLA team is facing
Yep, it's
UCF.
playing.
Yeah, this one.
Yep, so it's going to be interesting, Russ. It really is, because when you look down, I mean, there's obviously the UC connections now. Everyone's already sitting there on social media assuming it's going to be a done deal. But like we mentioned earlier in the show, you can't assume nothing until it's pen to paper,
Yeah. I mean, this
right?
time
So
next
that's
week, Neil, I think we'll be doing a show saying UC has announced Jared Calhoun as their 29th or 30th head basketball coach of the program. He will win, I believe, on Thursday, likely lose to one of the number 1 seeds over the weekends. Bing, bang, boom, 24, 36 hours later in negotiating. I mean, he to me is going to be the guy. It's pretty much laid out the timeline here. They will be making an announcement and getting him onboarded into the program over about a week from now. I mean, Neil, like whispering it through the grapevine here is it was Pitt, Ohio State, or Cincinnati as the 3 top options for Jared Calhoun. Let's take a look at those other 2 spots. Neil, what has Pitt done? They're not going to take on a $19 million buyout for Jeff Capel. What a job by that agent. The dude has, I don't think he's literally 500 in almost 10 years at Pittsburgh, and they still can't find a way to get rid of him. Ohio State
had a nice turnaround at the end of the year.
That they did, and they are dancing, Neil. I would find it shocking if Ohio State, after dancing their way into the tournament, even if they lost this week in round 1, were to get rid of their coach. So as long as that doesn't happen, and the resources of the Buckeyes aren't offered to Jared Calhoun, to me, he will jump at this opportunity. He's like multiple reports, including CBS Sports' Nat Norlander, have noted that Jared Calhoun will be interested in this job. And to me, it's just, I mean, we can talk about some other candidates, but nobody else makes as much sense as Jared Calhoun does, given the history tie, the winning tie, the kind of portion of his career he's in to be able to maximize this moment, and the fact that Cincinnati is the best job available. Syracuse, not quite the same kind of history and resources.
And Syracuse's job's already locked up too, Russ. That job's already locked up.
Did they already hire somebody?
No, but there's so many rumors and speculations going around that it's going to be Brian Holgerson from USF.
Oh, Brian Hodgson's going to be Syracuse guy. Well, there you go. So
yeah, that's already a done deal. I mean,
that
I don't know if you saw
that makes sense because he's a Buffalo, New York native.
If you saw the reports, the comments from the GM's wife after they fired Autry, they were like, "You've been planning for this for a whole year with the Hodgsons." So I mean, it's already a done. Yeah. It sounds like that's
they've
already
been planning
it
for a whole year. Then maybe you should have won some more Brett Autry, and then you won't have to deal with this. Anyway, Brian Hodgson. Perfect transition. He was the guy I had second listed as the next best option behind Jared Calhoun. He's done a great job in his first season at South Florida, 23-8 record, regular season AAC champions, 38 years old, rising coach. Then another guy I mentioned as well. I mean, these two are just way further down the line compared to what Jared Calhoun could bring in terms of his best fit, would be Joe Gallo out of Merrimack. Done a nice job with that program, has led them since they entered Division I back in 2019. Took over the program in 2016, won 3 straight Division II NCAA, went to 3 straight NCAA division tournaments at the D2 level, then won the Northeast Conference in their first year, and they have won 2 more league titles since, and they then moved up another league into the MAAC this past season. So those 2 names stick out to me, Neil, but I mean, much further down the line. And then also Josh Schertz out of St. Louis could be an option. Although
he ain't going anywhere after re-signing that deal.
Yeah, like I put a little asterisk in my article for mentioning him because he needs to be mentioned as the hottest candidate in the country right now. But he just got a brand new deal from St. Louis. I haven't looked at what the buyout is there, but I can imagine.
I think they agreed to give him like $9 million in NIL money.
Well, I mean, outside of that, Neil, is UC going to want to pay a brand newly signed contract buyout on top of the buyout that Wes Miller? Like
buyout.
I don't.
And the biggest thing too, Russ, when we're talking about these coaching hires too, one name that I have seen some people throw out on Twitter of like, oh, how cool would it be if this guy came to Cincinnati? You can cross Travis Steele right off that list.
No, he's not going to be the coach at UC.
And there's all these people talking about what would Travis Steele do? He could come back to Cincinnati. He could make history, coach at UC, Xavier in Miami. You can cross that off the list because of what he's doing at Miami. He has no interest in leaving Miami, and I can tell you that right now. So for the people who are out there speculating that on social media, you can just get rid of that narrative right now.
Like I think is it Cobb from the movie Inception? You got to dream a little bigger, darling. Dream a little bigger, darling. And we'll end it right there on this episode of Bearcat Blitz. Bearcats fans dreaming of all kinds of coaching possibilities. And I do think it will be Jared Calhoun, unless he turns the job down and wants to stay at Utah State for some reason that they make very, very lucrative over the next week. I think Jared Calhoun will be the head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats. We'll see what happens with that coaching search right here on Bearcat Blitz. Talk to you again later on in the week. Have a great Monday, everybody. And remember to check out FanDuel Sportsbook for all your national championship, all your college basketball, NCAA tournament wagers this week. Have a great Monday, everybody.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown.
Here on me.
Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline.